Buddy, this is what it is today, man. Let's do this shit. How are you guys? What just happened? For real, what just happened? Can you guys hear me? Tori, let me know if you can hear me on these guys. We're doing a different setup today. Super excited. The Mad Professor is in. Okay, good. How was that the last 15? Are you guys like, let's just have Tori on all the time? Like, I feel like my goal for today is to just break this thing. We're doing about 100 new things today because why not? And I think it's fun. I think we've done 10, 11, 12 of these. We almost broke the internet. Tori's like, dude, he didn't break the internet. I'm doing this on my phone today. Tori, does this, what's up, Riz? Does this look different than, or feel or sound different than what we normally do? Thanks, Unknown. Appreciate that, dude. Good seeing you again. Shine? Wow, I'm not even sure what that means, dude. I think what you mean is you're saying like blessings. I have lots of blessings. Is it too shiny? Is it like too much light in here right now? Is it easy to? It's a little bright. Okay. What if we did this in a good way? Thanks, Riz. Appreciate. Background is washed out. Okay. So I think what'll help with that is if we just back it up. Oh my God. This thing is like a, you guys ever see a picture of the Tower of Pisa? Is that better? It's so funny to be like communicating with people. Okay, good. Yeah, I feel like a mad professor. We're trying a whole bunch of new shit today that I'm really super excited about. I can't wait to break shit. I can't wait for this to fail. I can't wait for thank you, dude. Appreciate. This is gonna be fun. There might be some technical difficulties that I'm just gonna like lean into it. So thank you for warming stuff up, Tori. Did you guys get a chance to hear about what's coming up next, the next few? Hope so. Let's see if Tano's in. Wow, things are so tiny on that little phone, dude. It's like, it's hard to see you guys. Tori, let me know when Tano comes in so I'm not like making him like wait. How you guys doing? We're going to be doing a very different, not very, but somewhat different. God, I can't see shit on that message. And you guys want it way back. So there's not too much light, but Pete's blind. Okay, good. Thank you so much. I had a feeling that might be true, Riz, with the resolution on the phone, because one of our resident experts that was in here recently had said something about the fact that the iPhone resolution, the camera is just way better than an iPad. So smaller device, but what's going on, Pine Size? It's been a minute. Good to see you again. We're going to be doing a like a kind of a breakdown of a song. What's going on? How have you been? It's Friday, dude. I have a feeling it's been a big week. It's been a big fucking June. A lot of stuff going on, and it's all about creativity and music and love here. So we're going to bring on a very talented producer, songwriter, engineer, good dude. Definitely a good dude. Just had some lunch. Very nice. I'm sorry to lean in like that, but you guys can either have too much light, or you can have Pete leaning in like a 90-year-old man trying to read, you know, the New York Times. That's the choices we have here. there's no third alternative. So it's a good analog, Tori, for kind of the vibe of this show is going to be kind of lo-fi. Yeah, man, I lean in. There's not even like, I bet there's a setting on my phone that's like the grandpa setting where I can get that shit to be like marquee fucking size, but I don't have time to deal with that right now. Let me ask you this, grandpa setting. If I do that, my contacts are like working at full blast. Is that okay? Is that workable? And get sort of like a middle ground. Oh man, this is going to be awesome. Pete can't even see what's going on. So we're going to be listening to a beautiful, beautiful track by Tano Brock today, and learning about what goes into this track and what he thinks about it, and maybe learning some things about music. And I'm really excited about this one. Good, good, good. Thank you, Tori. Tano is here. So we've got some new technology here. We've got some. I used to for years. I went to a place to get my hair cut. You guys are probably thinking, God, it's probably been years since you got your haircut. And it was called Ghetto Fabulous, and I miss it desperately. Eric was the owner, and I met him just coincidentally and walked into it one time because I loved the name. And he was my dude for my haircuts for like 4 or 5 years. And then he went to New York because his fiance was getting like some really nice swanky gig in New York, like as a writer or something. So he left me. And dude, we're into every kind of music. Glow like. What's up, Dark Demon? We're gonna be getting somewhat music, deep into the music today. Thanks so much for popping in, you guys. For those of you that are new, just to sort of tee this off a little bit, and then I'm going to bring Tano on in a moment. This is called LiveonLive. We are a live stream about live streaming for musicians and people that work with musicians or love musicians and want to learn more about sort of the ins and outs of live streaming for music. So sometimes we go tech and talk about microphones and nerdy stuff like that. Sometimes we're going to talk about career options and ways to monetize music and marketing options. Andy, you kind of inspired us to do that. If you're here, let's see who's in. We just sort of like circle around that theme in as many different ways as possible. Today we're going to be talking about like music specifically, and we bring on guests. Tori may have mentioned a couple of minutes ago some guests that we have coming on. This is Tano's track. If you guys have a moment, thank you, Tori. Pop that onto your other screen or other device and listen to it right now while we're warming things up. This is an incredible, beautiful pop track, and we're going to be talking about it today and just sort of like getting into looking under the hood and talking about how great songs get produced and learning a little bit about Tano's process. And I'm going to try some new tech today, so bear with us if it snaps a little bit. It's part of the fun. Tano, you ready? Let's do this, man. Oh, it's Tano. Oh my gosh. Loading. Tano's coming in. Oh, nope. Let's try one more time. We might do the hand. Yeah, you like that? It's like a Saturday Night Live thing. Like, Tano.
Hello.
Dude, you never corrected me on your name, bro.
I know. I'm so used to people calling me that it's just I've just like.
You like how I made that your fault that I fucked it
more
up?
than 50% of the people I meet say Tano, and I've just gotten so used to it that it doesn't even bother me anymore.
Yeah, like say my last name.
Your last
Say
name?
it. Yeah,
Petro?
that's exactly wrong. Everybody says it that way, and I've given up. I
What
get it.
what is it?
It's Pietro. Why
Pete?
would it be Pietro? Because my family's Italian, so the original version of that name was Di Pietro, Pietro.
Oh,
And
so there was
then when my
I.
grandmother came over, they gave her 5 letters, so she lost the I. And so now it's this weird name that nobody knows how to pronounce. And I get it. It's like, yeah, dude, Pietro's fine. Pietro's fine. So but still, man, like, I'm glad Tori said something to me this morning. She's like, it's Tano, dude. It's Tano.
Yeah.
She's the one trying to bring the level of this thing up, and I'm trying to like pull it down. I'm trying to just pull it down as well. How are you doing, bro?
I'm good. My camera's all the way over there, so I'm not going to be looking at you. Is that kind of weird? Oh, well.
It's super weird, and that's like perfect.
Cool. I mean,
This whole thing's gonna be weird today, and I mean that in like the best. Like it's gonna be sort of like a little like what? I believe very much in the like what a minimum viable product is.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that like the best thing to do when you have an idea is just get it out there to where it's barely working,
Right.
and see if anyone gives a shit first.
Right.
And then if people are like, that was cool, can you, then you're like, oh, well,
Then
seem
improve.
like, then start, right. So you'll see
Yeah.
this in action today. So tell us, we're going to be talking about your song, which is called My Dream, singular.
Mm-hmm.
I also messed that up. I emailed everybody yesterday and I'm like, it's this beautiful track that Tano wrote called My Dreams. And he's going, no,
Oh, really?
bro.
I didn't even
There's one, it's one dream, dude. It's one dream. It's not a lot of dreams. It's not 1,000 dreams. It's one dream. So what do you have set up there?
So this is the session for My Dream. We tried. I set up like an OBS thing of actually like projecting my screen with my little video in the corner and everything like that. But unfortunately, you can't do that as a guest. We did some tests and discovered that. So you can only stream like from OBS if you're the host of the stream. But so hopefully you can see the screen. I can turn it and maybe like bring you guys in closer, but you can't see details, but you can see the gist, I guess.
Yeah, so this is your Logic session.
Yeah, yes? So this is the session for the song. I pretty much work like this is the same session that I started the song in and continued to be the final production and the final mix. That's kind of how I tend to work with my own music. I like just sort of write and produce the song at the same time, and then that turns into the mix session. Whereas like if I'm mixing for someone else, obviously I'll like it'll just be a session. It's just the mix. So these sessions of my own kind of get heavy and complicated because it's so much going on. But
Tori is already loving this. She's just like fangirling already. She's just like, oh my god, fan, like. Thank you, Tori. Yeah, this is I love. This is the first time we've had a session on our stream, so this is super cool. So I kind of want to get a read on the room too, because we can sort of we can do this at various levels. So you guys can sort of clue us in, right? So those of you that are here, I know some of you are new, and some of you are folks that I've seen before and have some sense of your background. So I'm going to keep this sort of a middle ground. Like I'm not going to get too heavy into music theory and production techniques, and I'll try and keep it sort of in some sweet spot where even if you're just kind of like flying overhead a little bit to find out a little bit about music and live streaming, there's going to be something here for you. But also if you have some background in production and you're like, okay, you want to pull something, I'm going to try and do that sweet spot. But if you guys feel like this is getting a little too nuts and bolts, or it's getting right. Let me know, and because this is for you guys. What's going on? Tasawar, welcome. Yeah, this is going to be a lot of leaning in today. In fact, maybe I'll just do this. Oh, yeah, okay. I'm going to make Tori a ref. Sign. We have this checklist. Oh, Tude. We can call you Taz? That used to be my nickname. Good nickname, bro. Tori's hooked up. Okay, so Tano, you were mentioning a second ago that like when you were creating this track, you were sort of writing it and producing it at the same time. Describe to us what that actually means.
Well, so I think I mentioned this last week
Yep.
when I was on, that like I just kind of in general write as I produce. Like I won't have a completed song before I start recording and producing the track. So with this, for instance, like I'm pretty sure I just started with the bass line and the guitar and sort of this like chord progression loop, and then kind of layered on that, and just like, and then basically like built a beat before I had any of the vocals or melodies written, you know.
What did you write first, if you remember?
You know, I don't remember exactly what element came first.
More or less. What was the first
Basically, like
set of stuff?
guitar, bass, and drums.
Yeah, I figured. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have this progression, you have this vibe.
Yeah.
You're a guitarist sort of by, I mean, that's like what your primary instrument is, correct?
I mean, maybe at one time it was my primary instrument. I think right now my primary instrument is saxophone.
Oh. Cool.
Yeah, at Berkeley, I was like going deep into saxophone and clarinet.
Wow.
So that
Cool.
that was like my principal instrument. And probably like gigging in New York before the pandemic, I was pretty much only playing reeds.
Really? What were you doing, like jazz stuff or what?
No, actually, I was playing
What's
more
up, Llama?
like Balkan, Greek,
Oh,
Eastern European, Turkish music, as I was talking about last week again. Like,
amazing.
yeah.
So does that mean you were playing primarily like clarinet or what?
Both saxophone and clarinet. Yeah, I had a brass band, 10-piece brass band here in New York that
It's amazing.
I led and played sax. You know, there's tuba, trombones, euphoniums, snare drum, bass drum, kind of thing. It's kind of like the instrumentation of like a New Orleans brass band, but
Totally
playing Balkan music. So it's like it's a, you know, well-developed tradition for the past 100 years or so in the Balkans. This brass band, I think they like took Western instruments, you know, to the Balkans and started playing their folk music. Yeah.
Llama, thank you for bringing in your fans and for coming in. So you were interesting, man. You have so many sides to what you're doing musically. Like so most of what you were doing when you were gigging in New York was a 10-piece brass band playing Balkan music. Were you playing weddings and like family events?
Some of that, yeah.
Yeah.
And also some public gigs at Balkan clubs and stuff.
Yep.
Look up Sarma brass band. You can find
What's it called?
Sarma, Sarma, like the food. It's like a Serbian food. Sarma brass band.
Dope.
Yeah.
I remember. I grew up in DC,
and
DC is very, you know, metropolitan. You literally have, because of diplomacy being in Washington DC, you literally have every country in the world is represented, and like, you know, there's all these little pockets of cultures. I mean, every single culture. And I remember the first time that I somehow or another found myself at like you had mentioned klezmer, which is different, but it's there's some parallels there with the arrangements and the like rhythms and the sort of ensemble playing and the nature of how it's performed. And like there's just so it's I'm at a loss for words for it, but it's like, it's so rich. There's so much stuff going on with how they arrange their music, and it's beautiful, and I love it.
Yeah, and I know I really fell in love with it too, and that's why people always ask like, that's so weird. Why do you play this kind of music? Like, like people always ask, "Oh, are you from Turkey or are you like from the Balkans?" No, no, I just really like the music,
Yeah, it sort of
It's
speaks
just
to
as
you. And
simple as that.
well, and what I love also, we had someone that was on a few weeks ago from Delhi, from India, and he was like, "Yo, like I want to get out of this city, and I want to go somewhere." And I think he was thinking like maybe Spain, like he wanted to go somewhere where he felt like he had a lot of, you know, opportunities, more opportunities. And we were talking about, he's like, "I love busking. I want to be out somewhere, and and I'm like, dude, you need to be in New York. Like New York has the kind of scene where you could have a Balkan band with 10 people's not cheap."
No, the the band didn't make a lot of money unless we played
Yeah,
White.
no, you didn't make a
Yeah,
lot of money, but
it's
in
fun.
LA that would have been very difficult, if not impossible. But at least in New York, there's so much just culture in the DNA of that city that why did you, so you're from SF, you
Yeah,
went to Berkeley, and then you ended up in New York. Why did you end up going to Brooklyn
as opposed to Manhattan, or
as
just
opposed to anywhere else in the world?
mostly because um a large majority of the community that I was part of at Berkeley was moving to New York. Um, and I knew a lot of musicians here, and I figured I wanted to stay on the East Coast for a little while longer to sort of keep making connections, and getting to know the people I already knew here better before moving back west, because I think I want to move back west, eventually.
Oh,
Um,
interesting. Good. Well, we'd love
Pandemic,
to have you.
like changing things, of course. All
Yeah.
plans are up in the air now, but
When you say back west, do you mean LA or do you mean San Francisco?
either,
Huh.
I'm not really undecided.
Well, they're very different,
I
as you
know,
know,
I
meaning like it would be a very different reality as a musician, musical
totally,
professional.
totally, but they are also commutable in a car. I mean, not on a regular basis, but meaning if I live in LA, I could go visit my family in the Bay every so often, as opposed to being in New York is across the country. You know what I mean?
I do, but I respectfully disagree with that. I think that because I've seen people try to do it, and I
Uh-huh.
think if you're in San Francisco and you think that you can pop into LA on the regular and really truly take advantage of being in LA at the same time that you're based in San Francisco, um,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess I was thinking more the opposite. Like if I
Yeah,
lived in
that
LA,
that I
I
could
could
see
still visit my family on a
completely.
relatively regular basis.
You like how I'm trying to get you to sort of like station here so we can hang? I'm like, there's really, you have, so we basically established that you have no other choice. It's just a matter of how long it takes for us to get Tano to LA. So now that we've established that, actually, it was kind of cool that we were looking at it from that lens, because let's get back to the song. And one of the things I like to let people talk about, and you can take this in any way that you'd like to, but it's kind of like as a general idea for your music and your aspirations at the moment. You're 23, so things are wide open. You could change your mind. You could have opportunities come to you that are completely unexpected, et cetera. But at the moment, because I think it's valuable for people to hear your thought process, um, what would you say is like, you know, I think specifically what I'm asking is, between your role as a producer, you do some mixing, which is maybe where you make most of your bread and butter, if I understood from the last time. You do writing, you're an artist, you do some things with Aya, which we're going to be talking about. Um, so as we listen to this song, this pop song with you as the artist,
Yeah.
with Tano as the artist, how does that fit into the sort of solar system of like where you want to be in 3 to 5 years? Do you want to be an artist in your heart and you're just sort of using these things to support that? Or is that something that you're kind of like, you enjoy it, but it's not like where you're leaning into necessarily?
Yeah, that's interesting. It's something that I've been thinking about, for a while, or not necessarily consciously thinking about it all the time, but sort of thinking about it in my subconscious, all the time, because I do a lot of different things, as you're mentioning, and
Yeah.
it's sort of hard to like decide, like, oh, I'm going to be first and foremost this, and the rest of the stuff is on the side, because when
Yep.
you enjoy doing a lot of different things, I want to be doing all of them, full time, but that's hard. Obviously, there's only so much time in one day, in 1 week to be doing stuff. So I basically, what it comes down to, I think, recently, is that I think if you asked me a year ago, I would have said, yeah, I want to be an artist. And like, I'm just kind of mixing and producing for other people to sort of make connections and also make money, and because I enjoy it. But I probably would have said that, like, yeah, like in the long run, I want to be an artist, producing and releasing and performing my own music. Um, but recently, I think, since I've been mixing and producing for other people way more full time than I'm working on my own stuff, um, I think I'm just sort of getting comfortable doing that and being in that world, and realizing that I I think I work really well kind of behind the scenes, um, in a studio environment. And of course, I enjoy working on my own music and writing music, but I can't say that I really imagine myself, like, not doing the mixing and producing anymore and just pursuing an artist career. Like, I think I will always write and release my own music, and I hope that I can, um, you know, like, gain some sort of following of my own music. But I think it will always be in addition to being like a producer in the industry, for working with a lot of other people, because I enjoy working on other music, and I'm not like a prolific writer writing new music all the time.
Mm.
So working for other people also gives me music to be working on all the time. Otherwise that would be like, because I enjoy mixing and I enjoy producing and I enjoy the technical aspect of things, and I want to be doing that all the time. But if I only had my own music to work on, that would be putting so much pressure on me as a writer to be coming up with new material all the time. So
Yep.
I like the fact that I can have all this material to work on that other artists are writing and producing and sending me, so I can continue working on stuff.
For sure. Thank you guys for popping in. That just kind of came in. Tim, Mira, Aya, good to see you.
Mira's my sister.
Um, oh, really? Awesome. Dope. Okay, we got the whole fam. We got the whole crew here. James, Tim, thank you very much. We're going to be sort of exploring some things about Tano's work and his career. We're going to be listening to this track. Tori, could you post the link to the track again, just so that people that have just popped in know what we're going to be listening to in a second and can have a URL for it? It sounds to me, Tano, that what you're getting at, if I'm accurate, is that maybe more than anything else, you see yourself at the moment as a producer, and then under that umbrella, you can produce your own shit, you can produce with other people, but you like that sort of creative flow that's not just, oh, I'm the artist and I'm always going to make all the material. Maybe it's the producer hats that's the most important one for you.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. And I think it's totally possible to be a producer and still release your own music. Of course, there are plenty of people who do that. And I think
Yep.
that's sort of my goal, is to be like, yeah, like a producer that is known for working with other people, but also releases his own music.
Who are some producers that you super admire
Ryan Tedder,
in that regard? Okay, great
for
example.
sure.
Okay. Yeah,
He's
perfect.
definitely like an idol of mine, kind of that Renaissance man of, he's a amazing singer and frontman of a band, amazing writer, also amazing producer, also an instrumentalist. So definitely like that kind of person is kind
Yep.
of my end goal, I would say.
Tori's saying, do you watch Songland?
You know, I've seen tons of clips and ads for it on Instagram and stuff, but I've never like watched an episode. Is it any good? She says I'd
She
love it.
says you'd love it. I haven't seen it yet either. Ryan leads. We'll have to check it out. We'll have to check it out. Oh,
Yeah.
he talks about songwriting, production. Cool. Dope. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So let's talk about this song and let me see. What are the things?
Do we want to play through it? I can I have the session so you can hear all the audio that I play.
So before we play through it, I want to
Mhm.
hear a couple more things that people can sort of take in, because I feel like part of the value of this is I want people to sort of develop things that they can listen to and hear moving forward that they didn't have when they popped in this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you are. So like, what do you think? I hate to make this too like, oh, talk about your song and blah blah blah, but like, when you think about this song, what do you think are the like from a production or an arrangement standpoint? What do you think are the things, maybe even for someone that's learning about production, learning about advanced ways of arranging or producing songs in the pop-ish area? What are the things about this song that you think are interesting for you or for someone that's listening to kind of like key in on?
One thing is the vocal layering and background vocals. I think that's one of the things that I have the most fun with in a production, because there's so many things you can do, and I think it makes an arrangement a lot more interesting when there's clearly a lead vocal in the middle going on, but then in the background, on the sides, behind, there's going to be these little other vocal elements coming in and out, and that can really help differentiate sections. And for instance, like make the first pre-chorus sound different than the second pre-chorus. Kind of add variety like that. So in a lot of my music in general recently, this song included, I've been having fun with vocal arrangements, basically. So that's one thing for sure that's really, I think, highlighted in this song, and I can show that more specifically in a bit.
Dope. Mario, good to see you. Yuma, good to see you, bro. I completely agree, and I would just say, as a kind of a my tidbit on that is, after this is done, if you guys listen on your own home systems and really with some headphones or whatever you have available, like listen very closely to all the different things that are going on with the vocal arrangement, whether it's harmonies and stacks and things that are happening in different left, right, center, different rhythms, different things that are happening. Part of what makes a 3.5 minute style song like this works so nicely and so sticky is that there's all these things that are kind of going on semi behind the scenes, under the surface, that you don't notice necessarily consciously, but they're really beautifully done. So you may not hear them 1,000% on the sort of setup that we have at the moment. Maybe you will, but like there's a lot of interesting stuff just on vocal arrangement that's really interesting, and I agree. What else?
Another thing that I think at certain moments in the song make the arrangement kind of pop or have impact is like these little moments of silence, like these little pauses. There's a couple places where there's either a couple beats just dropped out or a whole bar where sort of everything stops and then kind of comes back in, and I feel like that kind of acts as this little breath, like after this intense sound going on, suddenly it's like and then back in,
Yep. Anyone or anything that you feel is I don't even have to go there. Great. And I agree entirely. Anything else besides the pauses and the vocal arrangement?
Um, Percussion. There's a lot of stuff going on in terms of the percussion.
Yeah.
I also, similarly to the vocal layering and vocal production, I have a lot of fun with adding percussive elements. Maybe I mentioned last week on the stream that my first instrument was a hand percussion.
Tabla? Or
Darbuka, actually, like Turkish percussion.
that's the hand drum. It's like this, right?
Yeah, you hold it on your lap.
Oh, you had to hold it on your lap. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Darbuk, Darbuk.
With an A at the end, Darbuka. Yeah.
Darbuka.
Or
Okay.
Dumbek. Maybe you heard it as.
Oh, Doombek I've heard of. Yeah.
Same thing,
Oh, so it's It's like
it's hourglass.
like an hourglass drum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's got two very different tones to it, hence the sort of colloquial name Doom.
Exactly.
So it's got this like huge range for a drum.
Mm-hmm.
Dope. So absolutely, and I would say beyond just the percussion itself, there's a kind of a rhythmic thing that's happening in what you're doing. You've got this sort of reverse clave for a second, a couple of times.
Yeah.
The way the bass is happening is sort of Latin flavored, but it's not over the top. There's this kind of catch on the two that's sort of reggae-ish. Like there's a lot of things you're doing rhythmically that are sneaky, and they're really sort of not overt and obvious, but they make this sort of very interesting, unique. And I think usually when people do things of that nature, it becomes cacophonous and very sort of like rando sounding. And it's this sort of Latin, this and that, blah, 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 with a mix with a little bit of jazz, and it sounds like shit. What you've done is like just enough of each of those different rhythmic things that it's barely noticeable. It's barely noticeable unless, you sort of go in there with a microscope. So Those are all awesome points.
The clave thing, I'm glad you noticed that. That was definitely intentional. I mean, it just sort of came to mind as I was writing that part. A link I sent you to a song that I produced recently, sort of Afro-Cuban kind of song. That's an artist who's a good friend of mine, and I've been working with him a lot. And so he introduced me to a lot of Cuban rhythms, Cuban music that so subconsciously and slightly consciously as well, I've incorporated those rhythms into my own music.
Dope. Anything else about the arrangement or the production that you think would be useful for people to kind of hone in on as they're listening to this?
I think those are the main elements that come into highlight.
Let me ask you one other sort of question on the other side of the coin. Is there anything about the track that somehow or another was maybe a challenge, or that you feel like is something that, maybe it's something that's not 1,000% in some way or exactly what you expected it to be, or anything that would help people understand that, writing a great song is difficult and that there's always things that you have to try and sort of figure out the best you can?
Yeah, well, I guess I feel like I often have this problem when I'm writing. I get to a certain point and I feel like the song is done and I want it to be done because I'm happy with it. But then when I look back at it, I feel like maybe it's lacking something. Like maybe it's a little bit boring at times, like too repetitive. Because sometimes I'll get a first verse and a chorus, and then I'll just like copy and paste the chorus to the second time and leave an empty space for the second verse, and then like come up with the second verse. And I'm like, okay, I feel like that's done. I have verse, chorus. And, this is a little bit more complicated than that. I'm kind of making it simplistic for the sake of the explanation. But
yep.
I feel like at that point, I'll be like, okay, sweet, I'm done. I don't have to write any more vocal parts. You know, now I can just like touch up the production and the mix. So I guess with this one, I didn't stop there. Like I kind of altered things and I kept adding more background vocals as I was explaining earlier.
Yep.
But I guess I feel like maybe still the one place where it falls short is just being a little bit like not having enough variety, or not having a super contrasting section or anything, like being a little bit too linear.
With the arrangement of it. Yeah, and just sort of the sequencing of things. From what I remember on the arrangement, you have no bridge, and you basically you got a verse, you have a handful of hooks, you have some B section or pre-chorus sections, you've got an intro.
Yeah.
You've got a sort of an out for a beat, or 4 beats, I should say, a bar. That's kind of it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it does an okay job because I think the production and like the rhythm really drives this song. So I think I think it's okay in the end. You know, if it was like just an acoustic guitar and a vocal, obviously this song would sound super whack, because it would be like, there's like no substance here.
Right.
But I think because the production and the rhythm is so kind of complex and impactful that sort of carries it.
Yeah, and I think your comment is something that's useful for people, particularly Riz. I know your background, because I've sort of worked with you directly. For those of you that are listening and kind of taking this in, I think there's this balance. Again, I think cooking is a good analogy, and you know, you've got rhythmic things happening in a song, you've got melodic things happening in a song, you've got harmonic things happening in a song, and you've got the complexity of the arrangement. And if all of them are on full blast, it sounds crazy. And if all of them are on like 2 out of 10, it sounds sort of what you just described. And I think you've done a nice job of keeping certain elements not simple, because that sounds like it's a bad thing, but streamlined and to the point, and other things like the vocal arrangement, like the percussion and the energy of the rhythm, and some of those pauses and sneaky arrangement things that I think it creates a really nice balance. So I think we're done talking about the song. Let's go ahead and listen to it. Tori said it sounds pretty good through your mic, so let's listen in and hear My Dream.
Cool. Oh, sorry. Let me restart this. Okay, here we go.
I see you on the way down, looking for a way out. I'm telling you it's hopeless if you didn't notice, but I'ma keep fighting. You'll keep riding. There ain't no other way, no. I do this every day, no. Lately I've been holding on a thread so thin. Where do I begin? It feels like I can barely take another step. I'm just trying to live my dream. 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 I'm always writing love songs, but nothing ever goes on. If no one's gonna listen, then what's the point of living on? If I ever make it, I'm always gonna stay lit, 'cause I don't want you thinking
What's up, Dan?
that I can be blinking. Oh, I'm just trying to, oh, my dream. Oh, I'm just trying to, oh, my dream. Lately, I've been holding on a thread so thin. Where do I begin? It feels like I can barely take another step. I'm just trying to live my dream.
Dan, thank you so much for the love, dude. Thank you so much.
I'm just trying to live my dream.
It's nasty, man.
All right.
It's really it's a hot track. So so one of the things I want to do is, now that you guys have heard us blah 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 about it, and you've heard it once through a, you know, it's always interesting to hear a good song through a less than perfect scenario, because I feel like a good song carries even through, you know, iPhone earbuds or whatever it is. What I want to know now is, for those of you that are here, and Dan, thank you so much, dude. You know, it's like you've been the such a huge part of us doing everything that we do here, and I super appreciate it. Thank you so much for the likes, dude. You're blowing shit up right now. Thank you. We love you so much, man.
How does that work?
Huh?
How does it? What it says 15,000 likes? That's crazy. What does that mean?
That means Dan is a madman. It means he's insane. He's a crazy man, and it's full of fucking love, man. Thank you so much, Dan. Dan, I think hopefully everybody that's watching this is kind of scratching their head and going, this is kind of interesting, but like everybody gets this. Hopefully it's probably like, okay, this is cool. But Dan, like, I think really gets what we're trying to do and what we're, the vision of this, and he's a badass. So thank you so much, Dan. So what I want to do is I want to put out for you guys, what are the things that you would find interesting to have Tano talk about? Do you find it interesting how we put the vocal arrangement together? Do we want to go into the session and unpack that and talk about how, you know, whatever post vocal production he did with, you know, stacks and harmonies and things like that, and pulling things out and adding things? Do you guys want to talk about how we wrote the song and the lyrics and the meaning of it, how it was arranged? You guys tell me. What's up, Ugona? It's a great song. There's so much to talk about here. I mean, if you guys don't say anything, then we'll just go with what I think is interesting. But Ugona, and Ugona has an interesting background, actually, because he worked with Hit Songs Deconstructed. Are you hip to Hit Songs Deconstructed?
No.
Check it out. So they basically, as the name implies, they kind of they look at patterns of songs that are happening on the, let's say, Billboard Hot 100, and they're like, interesting, what is kind of going on behind these commercially successful songs? On a sort of level that we're doing, but more granular. I think if we did that here, it would be like, people would just be like, that's a little too much. And Ugona has a background in engineering and production as well. But so you guys, if you have any specific things you want to talk about, I would really love to talk about the arrangement itself, because I feel like that's something that anyone, regardless of their musical background, can understand how a song is sequenced. And at the same time, I feel like Tori, especially, who is taking classes at UCLA on songwriting and things like that, like anybody here, if we look at how this song was sequenced, we'll be like, oh, that's fucking interesting. So, and I think there's a lot to this song and how it was sequenced, and that would be cool. So I'm going to do that unless someone else goes, no, wait, I really want to find out how he did blah, 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 blah.
Okay.
So let's talk about it. Just 30 seconds. What if you were describing this from musician to musician, and someone's like coming in, your music director's coming in. He's going to be running the whole band for the tour, and he doesn't have a lot of time. He's going to walk onto the stage in 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, okay, tell me what is going on in this song. I've been doing this for 20 years. Tell me what's going on with this song so that I know basically what I'm about to do. What would you say?
All right. I would say 4-bar intro, first verse. Then you got a chorus that sort of has a drop out, you know, drum and bass drop out for the chorus, and then there's like a drop section in the sort of dance meaning of the term. Then second verse, second chorus, second drop.
What key is it in?
What key? It's G minor. G minor, 80 BPM. It's kind of slow R&B groove tempo.
Mm-hmm. And there's really 3 chords in this song, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Yeah. 3 chords.
So I got a keyboard here, G minor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I play my keyboard, but it's G minor is the home key.
Yep. And then it goes to the 4.
Right? And then it goes to the C minor.
Yep.
And then every once in a while it goes to the F, which is the 7, the dominant 7.
Turn around, yeah.
That's it. 3 chords.
3 chords.
So
yeah.
technically, almost any musician that's worth their salt could probably walk on stage right now, 2, 3, 4, with a chart.
Yep.
And probably play this down more or less with the explanation you gave me. Now, from my vantage point, there's a lot of different things when you get into like arrangement of songs and what you call things, right? And well, is this a this or a that, or does this play the role of blah 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 or blah blah blah? But one of the reasons I wanted to give you a chance to describe it is because the way I think of it is slightly different than what you said.
Okay.
Not entirely different, but I'm gonna Yeah. So I'm gonna try something. And this is what I kind of had in the back of my head, my sort of mad professor moment.
Okay.
That I want to try. And this may be awesome, or it may just like break the whole fucking stream and we'll have to hop back on. So with that fabulous intro, what I want to do is I want to take the camera that's on my phone and I want to set it up right here so you guys can look at my iPad. And on my iPad, what I'm going to do is I have an Apple Pencil and I have an app called Notability that I use every day. Looks like this. And it allows you to take the Apple Pencil and write in real time. But also it allows you to record that. And what that means is you can replay your writing and actually see it in real time, and it will record the audio.
Oh, wow.
So what that means is at the end of this, we could go back and play what I just wrote again and go to the middle of it and say, oh, this just happened, and watch me writing it. And also I can send this to you guys later. Okay.
Cool.
And I just think this could be a fun experiment. It might work, it might not, but I think it'll also be a good discussion for arrangement and how these pieces fit together. So if you guys can give me about 60 seconds for my mad professor moment, this room's going to get crazy because I'm going to set some shit up that this is ghetto fabulous. This is what ghetto fabulous actually means. So tell us while I'm doing this so we can fill in the time. Talk about, what are you going to talk about for the next 60 seconds, Tano? What's the difference between, talk about the difference between a verse and a pre-chorus and a chorus, and how, what function they serve in a song.
Okay. Well, the way I think about it is basically from a melodic standpoint, each of those sections, verse, pre-chorus, and chorus, are going to have a different melody, a different basic melody. And each time that type of section is repeated, generally that melody is retained. Sometimes the lyrics may be the same, sometimes the lyrics may be different. So in this song, for instance, which I feel like is pretty standard, I have 2 verses, 2 pre-choruses, and 2 choruses. The 2 verses have different lyrics and slightly altered melodies, but the same sort of structure of the melody. And then the pre-chorus and the chorus, both times have the same melody and the same lyrics. But kind of as I talked about earlier, the background vocal arrangement is sort of what differentiates the first pre-chorus to the second pre-chorus and the first chorus to the second chorus. So basically, I think that's the pretty conventional way to think about it. And this is form-wise, this is a pretty standard form. You have verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse, pre-chorus, chorus. Of course, there are no rules. People get really creative with arrangement, and there could be a section, a song. There are plenty of songs out there that just sort of are totally linear and have no repeated sections, basically. And oftentimes, my verses, sometimes like the first verse will have a different melody than the second verse, and I think that's something that's fairly common as well. But the chorus retains the melody. I think having repeated melodies is important in pop because you need something to be singable. You want people to hear something and want to sing it later. Or if you want it to get stuck in their head, and if you don't repeat any melodies, that might be hard to achieve. So I think that's one of the reasons that this has become such a common form is that you have a hook. A lot of people call it a hook because it hooks the listener. That's the whole point of a chorus, having this relatively simple, repeatable, singable melody that happens multiple times throughout the song, that after you're done, it hooks you and you're like, oh, yeah, I remember that chorus.
Totally. Okay, so question. The point of this setup, the way we've got it at the moment, is so that you can see me writing. So can you guys see that?
No.
Okay.
I think
That's helpful.
If you could move the camera a bit further away, I feel like we're a little bit too close to the iPad.
Got it. Okay. How's that?
Yeah. That's
better?
Better. Yeah.
I still feel like it's kind of washed out, right?
It's a little bit like overexposed.
Yeah. Right.
Maybe zoom back in a bit. I feel like when it's zoomed in, it kind of adjusts the exposure. There we go.
Right there?
Yeah, a little bit further back. Right there. That's perfect.
That's kind of where it was. Hold on, let me put this back again. Let me try. I'm gonna try. Yeah. It might be because. So how does that work? Are we getting that same sort of like, wow, it's really bright?
That's better. Oh yeah, someone's suggesting turn the brightness down on the iPad. That might help.
Oh, right, of course. Good idea. Better?
Yeah, that's better.
Can you see the word example?
No, we can only see below that.
So, can you see it now?
No, now we can see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ghetto fabulous, right? You guys love it?
Yeah.
So again, this is just, if we like this, then I'll actually make this into something that works. But for the moment, oh wait, I can do it like this. Yeah, man. Can you guys see the word example?
No, not
No. Can you now?
We can see the second half of it. Ample.
Got it. Got it. Okay, good. So what I can do is, now can you see it?
Still only see the second half of the word.
Oh, I see. Well, we don't want it to be too zoomed in because also I want to be able to have an image of the whole screen.
Yeah.
Right? So, and I can move this over a little bit. That'll probably help. Yeah.
There we go. That's the best so far.
Good. Okay, let's do that.
Okay.
So here's, and again, this is this Ghetto Fabulous, I told you guys. So what I'm going to do is, and then over here, I've got your track kind of semi queued up.
Okay.
Let's see if I can do this. Okay. So I'm going to erase this. Cool. All right. So again, if I'm writing, this happens to be with blue, but can you read that word more or less?
No, it's a little bit too high. It's kind of cut off now. We can see like everything below that word.
How about that?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. So if I write this, you can kind of read that.
Totally, yeah.
Good. Okay, so, and then I'm going to, what will also help is, I think I can move this, forget how to do this. It's a way to like, let's see. I want to get this on like the last little slice here, like that. Come on, buddy. Like right there. I don't know if it wants to do that right now. That's close enough. Okay, because I just don't want to tap this accidentally. So, and I'm going to also, let me ask something else. If I make this a little bit smaller, can you guys read that? And maybe it's easier to read.
Yeah, that's good.
Good. Okay. Cool. All right. So that's it for AV. Tori's like, oh my God, what the hell is going on? Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to listen to this, and I'm going to just jot down what I imagine to be the arrangement sequence. The only thing I'm going to make that's a slight difference from what you said is I call the pre-chorus a B section.
Okay.
Right, which is the same thing. It serves the same function. It's known as the same thing. I think other than that, there's no other major things that I would say. Oh, I also call the chorus a hook.
Okay.
Same thing. I just think it's in the parlance that I'm familiar with, that's the word that's used instead, more commonly. So that's what I'm going to use. So here we go. Oh, it's not loud enough. Hold on.
Do you want me to play it on here so people hear it?
No, I actually want to try this because that way it'll be recorded.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And maybe your idea is actually the better one. We're just learning as we go.
Okay.
And maybe the next time we'll do it the smart way and we'll do it your way. Intro. 4 bars. First. 4 bars. second 4 bars. Chords. D section. This is basically ooze. Lately. Still the B section. 4 more bars. Trios. Plus drums. Hook. 4.
Move the iPad up so we can see what you're writing now. There you go.
Actually, I can do it like this.
Nice.
Another 4 bars. Thank you. Out for 1 bar. Verse 2, 4 bars.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I have so much coffee, my hand's shaking. Love it. I'm like, oh. I'm glad we're catching that on the fucking thing. Here's where you go right into the hook again. Wait, no, I misspoke. This is the B section. Nope, I actually was right. This is the hook. This is the B section again. All right. And come back to the hook. Get back in on the 1, back on the 1. And then you have like a sample on the 1. Does that make sense to you, Tano?
Yeah. The only thing that I would contest is that part that you were unsure about.
Mhm.
I think that is the B section. I add these other background vocals that are the same lyrics as the hook.